Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Hey guys, thanks for being listeners of the show. Go to dentalimplantpractices.com and find all of our resources. Also find us on Facebook, Dental Implant Practices page on Facebook, and go to iTunes and leave me a review on iTunes so we can help spread the message. Thanks.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Implant Practices podcast. I'm your host, Philip Gordon, and today it's a huge honor for me to introduce Matt Winstead from Huntsville, Alabama. He is with the Oral Arts Lab. Matt, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you are the VP of Oral Arts Lab, kind of the acting CEO. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, your history, how the lab got started, came to be, and then how you kind of entered into the position you're at now, okay?
Sure. Well, since it is a family-owned lab, I started coming to the lab when I was a little boy. And I can remember coming to the lab after school and sitting next to the technicians and grinding on pencils with a high-speed handpiece and playing with plaster and just being a kid. And I got really involved in the lab when I got out of school in 2004. When I finished college, I started full-time, and I was taking over the marketing department then, and I didn't really start assuming the head of the company until around 2012, I would say. And since then, year by year, my dad phased out more and more, and I took over more and more responsibility, and that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, great. So it's a family company. Your father started the company, and you've kind of taken things over. You said there's some other family members working for the lab. Is that right too?
Yes. My sister, my brother, my sister's family works here as well. I think that's kind of what happens oftentimes with a family business, and it's good because we know that we have each other's back and we really trust each other and just get the job done and no drama. So it's really great.
Yeah, that can be nice. It's good to have a family business when people have a vested interest, as long as there's no quarrels going on, and it keeps people can understand it's some of the workers become family too. So it's good to have a strong family business like that.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of people meet and get married in this business.
Yeah. Probably stick with you for 20, 30, 40 years sometimes, huh?
We still have some of the technicians that my dad helped train back in the 80s still here. So we do have a lot of that.
It's a lot of experience, which goes a long way in the dental business. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the lab? I know you guys are a pretty big center there. Kind of give me some stats or some figures, or kind of give people an idea what's going on at Oral Arts. I've never been to Huntsville, Alabama, so tell me what's going on with the lab side of things.
Well, when I started in 2004, we had about 110 employees, and in 2005 we moved into a new facility, which we're in now, and I think as of right now we have about 330 in Huntsville. And then we have another lab down in Mobile, Alabama, that services South Mississippi, like the panhandle of the Gulf there. And they have about 21 or 22 employees. But we really try and grow and market our facility here in Huntsville. We have the most technology and the most capability here. And the lab in Mobile services that local area. But since I took over, I've tried to really make it more of a national lab and just work for dentists all over the country, really, and diversify ourselves and not just be a local presence. And that's really been successful. And I think something that's helped us is the fact that we haven't sold our lab to anybody else. And that's something that we really have no intentions of doing. And I think that causes our quality and the culture to be different than if we sold it. And, today in the dental lab business, I don't know if you know this or not, But in the past 15 years, the lab business has dropped in half. So there's half as many labs in existence today as there were in the year 2000. And some of that's due to just small labs not willing to invest and stay up to date. And then some of that's due to consolidation and these big companies rolling up labs and conglomerating. And I got called just this week to about acquisition and that kind of stuff. And we just don't have an interest in that, because we feel that for us to do the best work and to be the best for our clients, we need to be involved and we need to have ownership and not an outside party. So I kind of got on a tangent there, but our lab is doing very, very well, to say the least.
Yeah, it's the dental field has changed a lot on the dental office side and the lab side. There's been, corporate infusion on both sides, and so that changes things. And you have to figure out what's best for your employees, what's best for your best interest, what's best for your customers, and make your decisions.
Exactly.
Make your decisions based upon that, and then stand by what you believe in. So
Right.
different times we live in, but with that technology, it changes things. So you have to embrace it. And I know that's a huge investment for these labs. These machines can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's good that you're keeping up on that. That keeps you competitive. Now, you guys are in Alabama. Do you have any interaction with the Alabama Implant Study Club at all?
No, I've never even heard of it, but I'd like to.
Well, check them out. There's an Alabama Implant Study Club. They used to be real strong back in the day, and I think they still have a good presence now. So that may be something for you to look into down there. And I know there were some early pioneers in implant dentistry started in that club, so maybe something to look into. But jumping into implants, that's why I called you. I want to talk about what's going on with implant dentistry. I know you guys, let's talk about some of the things you guys are servicing for implants. I know you're a full service lab, but you offer quite a bit for implants that maybe a lot of labs don't. So let's talk about from the ground up. So if somebody wanted to do some surgical guides with you, that's a big deal now. You guys offer kind of a full array of surgical guides. Is that correct?
We do. Right now we're using Implant Studio to design them. I know we've tried a lot of the different softwares out there, and this year we have settled in on 3Shape, but we design them and print them in-house. And it's starting to pick up. I know that market has been pretty competitive, but we are very competitive too. Like right now, we only charge, I want to say it's $125 for the guide, regardless of the number of implants. And then the plan is only $150. So you can do a big case for under $300. And I don't know that you can do much better than that without doing it yourself in the clinic.
Wow. Yeah, that's an amazing price.
So we're printing those on a bigger printer. It's called an Objet. It's like a Stratasys Objet machine, and it's super accurate. And we've been doing it that way for several years. So those are starting to pick up. We've been advertising it more, and I think the price is really getting some doctors' attention.
Yeah, that is. But, I used to make them through the Nobel process, and if you wanted
like $800,
if you wanted 4 or 6 implants for a complete arch, it was like $1,000 for those. It was like $900 and something dollars, and I remember thinking, man, this is terrible.
That was back in the heyday when you could charge whatever you wanted. Yeah,
I'm not doing that anymore, needless to say. But $275 is about the most competitive I've heard. So that's amazing. So are you able to do single implants all the way up to full arch, fully guided?
Yeah, we can do fully edentulous with the anchor pins, or we can do edentulous as well. So it's working out good.
Excellent. That's great. So, there's a lot of options there. Someone can do a single tooth. Someone can do a full arch. They can do pilot guides, and they can do anchor pins and fully guided. So I would encourage people to look into that. As we all know, surgical guides and 3D technology is not going away. So you better get on the game with that. What else are we doing for either kind of temporaries or just single tooth restorations? Kind of walk me through that. You guys have the ability to do custom abutments and various types of crowns that go on single tooth dentistry, I'm sure?
We do. We do anything from the single tooth stuff to the full arch. We do quite a bit of full arch work for the prosthodontic residency programs at the dental schools. And that's really upped our game because those programs are pretty demanding, and it's caused us to be a better lab, and I'm very thankful for it. But we do the milled PMMAs as well as the full arch zirconias, and we've also started doing some of the high performance polymer hybrids where we're milling out a polymer framework and we're cementing individual crowns over the frame, and then we're layering pink composite for the gingiva. And I think that's a super niche market right now, but I'm seeing more and more attention towards that because of the shock absorbing properties of the polymer frame. And I think that the dentists that have done, say, a upper over a lower full zirconia screw retained. I mean, I've been around somebody that had one, and you can hear them eating, and the teeth coming together and clacking and making a noise, and you avoid all that with these polymers because they have some flex. They're strong, but they do have some give to them. So we just started introducing that. As far as like temporaries, of course, we're milling all those. We're actually coming out with a new product, I would say in the next month, where we're going to offer a Duracetyl temporary, which is Duracetyl resin. It's a lot more forgiving material than PMMA. PMMA has a tendency to break catastrophically if you don't have enough abutment support and you have too long of a span. And the Duracetyl, it kind of acts like those polymers. It's real flexible, but it's strong, and it doesn't catastrophically break. So that's going to be an interesting option for long-term temps. But we have a really robust implant department. Our implant department has about 12 people that all they do is select the parts and analog the models and talk on the phone. We mill the custom abutments in-house, design and mill those in-house, or we can send them to, say, Nobel or somebody like that. But that, I would say that implants is the fastest growing area of our lab right now. It's just going crazy.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of different options. You've got that biologic process where you talked about some sort of what did you call that? Some sort of polymer.
Yeah, we're using a product from Harvest called Trilor. The products that are in that family are Pectin from Annex Dent, and then Trilor is from Harvest. There is a product called Juvora. It's another polymer. Several companies are coming out with them because it's just getting a lot of attention.
And then you're cementing crowns on top of that, like Emax or zirconia, or? Yeah,
we've been putting Emax on them and also some zirconia on them. And one thing that's good about it, Dr. Gordon, is, if you do a hybrid, you're always struggling with the screw access holes if your implant angulation is more labial verted. And, it throws you into having to use multi-unit abutments, and that drives up the cost for everybody. But when you do something with a cemented crown over the frame, what we can do, we can cement all the crowns ourselves except the ones that have those access holes. And then you screw everything in, and then you just cement the crown during the seating appointment, and that covers up the access hole. So you don't have to worry you don't have to worry at all really about access hole problems when you do it that way.
Sure. Now, your zirconia, you have a full zirconia option. Are you guys doing monolithic, or are you doing cutbacks, or what are you doing for the zirconia options?
Yeah, we're doing them both ways. And we don't dictate it. We don't dictate that. We just let the doctors decide.
I'm sure there's more cost, probably more cost for the cutback, I'm sure. But, if there's a high-end case, that's probably maybe a desirable thing?
Well, I've been looking at a lot of our work lately, and you'd be amazed at how good we can make the monolithic look. We pre-center stain it before it gets fired, so we add some of those stains in there before we ever put it in the oven, and you can make it look pretty good. I mean, nothing looks as good as feldspathic porcelain, but and on top of that, we haven't had any of those come back broken either. So we're taking the zirconia all the way to the incisal edge, and I haven't seen any come back with a fracture yet. So, and we've been doing them now for about 3 years.
Yeah, that's great. You've got the PMMA options, you said, for the temporaries. People are still using those for those long-term temps while they're finishing out those cases. So it sounds like full arch. We got a lot of options. You guys also do locator overdentures and things like that. I know. Do you guys mill your own bars for those if someone wants to do a bar case? And then
no, we never did invest in the bar milling, just because right around the time we started to look at it, the wave of zirconia hit, and it seems like the amount of titanium bars we do has just really dropped. So
sure,
there's not much of a need for that anymore. But we do a lot of locator cases. Okay,
great. Yeah, I think people are kind of either doing locators or full zirconia now. I don't know a lot of people doing bars and or pure hybrids as much. Maybe there's better options nowadays.
Well, they did. They were hanging on to it because people, I think the clinicians were leery of how hard that monolithic zirconia is, but now that we have some polymer options, that's going to be a much more reliable solution than having that acrylic and those denture teeth on a bar. That just never works out very well long term.
Yeah, there's always staining and popping and cracking issues and losing teeth.
Exactly.
Repairs don't work, and so it's
exactly
kind of an issue. And the locator overdentures, they usually can't generate enough force for that, and or you can take them off easy and repairs are simple. So
right,
you don't have as much invested in the case time and money wise on those, so repairs can go a little easier. What are you doing special for single units? Anything special in those world? Obviously you're doing you said custom abutments. Anything special going on in just the single tooth dentistry world?
As far as implants go, right now, I looked at it last week, and we track it every single week because we're really interested in this area. But last week, over 19% of all the impressions that we got were from an intraoral scan. So we're getting a lot of doctors doing their implant cases with their scanners, and we love doing that because we get to print the models and use the digital analogs, and that's working really well for single unit restorations. I mean, we can do them. We can do screw retained. We don't even have to have the model, and the turnaround time on those is only like 3 days for an implant crown, and that lowers their cost. And another thing that we're seeing more of is doctors wanting custom abutments. I guess you guys are calling it screw mintable or screw mentation, where they have that access hole, and we may cement it for them, or they'll cement it chairside, and we're doing more of that with the access hole over the custom abutment, and I really like that. I mean, if I was a patient, knowing what I know, that's pretty much the best of both worlds there, and we don't charge extra to do the hole. I mean, it's not a big deal to put the hole in there, but it does make a lot of sense for the doctor to be able to retrieve it.
That's how I like to do all my crowns if I can, because you get the ideal shape with the custom abutment and the strength there, but then you get to screw it down so you're not having to cement it in the mouth. You have the retrievability, so you're reducing your chances for peri-implantitis. You have access to it again. But you have the ideal shape, the custom abutment, and the ideal circumstances for that. So that's great that you're doing that, and I think it's great. 20% of your people are using those scanners. That's fantastic.
About not even 2 years ago, that was only about 5. So we've had to throw people at that like crazy to get it staffed up to be able to handle those files. And when we first started out, it was a nightmare because you're getting files from K-Dent, 3M, 3Shape. You just name them off, and they all have different websites, and it was unbelievable trying to keep up with all the files. And we came up with this software that actually searches all those different websites all day long, and it pulls the files into our production software, so we never miss a case. But we've gotten accounts come to us, because the lab the doctor will say, well, I sent them the file, and 7 days later they call me and said I called them 7 days later looking for the case, and they said they didn't even have it logged in yet. So there's all new set of problems, with the scanners and stuff, but we're growing like crazy in that area.
What do you guys find is the best scanning, the best data you see coming in? What machine do you guys think works the best on your end of it? What do you see?
It's unanimous, hands down, 3Shape. I mean, I know that Medit just came out with a new scanner that is around the 15,000 mark. It's color and no powder from the Medit company.
How do you spell that?
MEDIT. It came out last month, and I think they're really trying to go after the 3Shape market, but I don't have enough experience with it to know how fast it is. We have some Medit scanners in the lab, and they make really good scanners, so I know it'll be accurate. But for us, we've had the most success with 3Shape, and I would say we have the most problems. I'm sure they're going to hate hearing me say this, but I think we have the most issues with 3M, and I really think that the scanner is good. It's the technique of the user and the spray. The spray introduces a lot of issues for us, people underspraying or overspraying, and I think if you can get away from spray, you're a lot better off. Yeah,
nowadays I don't even understand why there would be anything that sprays. I mean, I don't get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just that doesn't make any sense to me. I like that. Well, you guys are doing a lot with implants there. You are let me see. You are the U.S. supplier for Paul Top implants. Is that correct? Tell me about that relationship.
Yeah. So last March, a really good friend of mine, Dr. Mark McComey from Chattanooga, he came with me to Germany. I go to the International Dental Show every 2 years, and it's the world's largest dental trade show. So I try and bring a doctor with me every time I go, just because it makes it more fun. But
I'll go with you next year.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, it's insane. It's like, I don't know how many square miles of floor space, and it's like 4 days long, and you wear your running shoes, and you cannot cover all of it in 4 days. So we got there the first day, and I was like, I'll go left, you go right, and we'll meet later. And he was really there to find, Dr. McComey was there. His main thing he wanted to do while he was there is find a good implant that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And when we got there, it was like 300 different implant companies. And I think he was a big Implant Direct guy that had switched over from Nobel a long time ago. And of course, Implant Direct's not expensive, but I do think they're going up. We had somebody call last week or this week, and now they're over $200. I think $210. But
well, now that they're owned by
Danaher,
and Danaher also owns Nobel, I think they're going to kind of bring Nobel down and bring Implant Direct up a little.
So he comes back and he's like, dude, you got to come over to this booth, this Paltop implant booth. I'm really impressed, and I like what I'm seeing. So he bought like $15,000 worth of implants that day. I don't know if he flew back with them or what, but he was sold. So he gets back and starts using them, and he calls me. He's like, dude, these implants are awesome. I'm loving this. And he was talking to them, and they're saying, we're wanting to do more in the United States, and we're looking for ways to enter the market because it's so competitive. So they flew over from Israel. They're made in Israel. They flew over and visited with me, I want to say like twice, and then I flew to Israel last summer just because, you know, they were wanting to do a deal with us, and I didn't want to put my name on something I hadn't been and seen how it's made. So I went to their plant and super impressed with how they were making it and all the steps they go into making sure it's the best. And so I was sold on it. And then since we got back and started selling it, this is kind of off topic, but then I got a message on LinkedIn, and this company, I didn't even know who it was then, Augma Bio. I guess they saw that we were selling an Israeli implant, and Augma is an Israeli bone company. And so they flew over, and then we started selling the bone cement. So those two products have really been awesome for us as a laboratory to be able to offer, just because, like, if a doctor switches to Paltop, how much more integrated can you get than supplying the doctor with everything from the implant and the guide, the bone, the crown, the temps, the parts, and everything. We have over $100,000 worth of Paltop inventory sitting at, like, just right down the hall from me. So, you know, we don't have to wait on parts. We can play around with stuff and do stuff that you couldn't do with other implant companies. Because if, let's say, we want to change something or make it a different way, we can actually contact them and they'll change the part for us. It's crazy, but it's been good. But at the same time, it's been challenging because there are at least 300 implant companies probably in the U.S., and it's not easy selling implants. I'll tell you that.
It's not. Absolutely. There's a lot of competition.
It's really competitive. Yeah. And what's interesting is the doctors that try it, they love it. It's just so hard to get somebody to change implants. And once they do, like I said, it's a really, really good implant system, and it's really affordable. I mean, we're retailing the Zimmer connection for $150, and then they have a conical. I want to say the conical, we're selling it for like $170, $175, and the parts are inexpensive, and I just think it's a no-brainer, especially from somebody who's used to using a conical or a hex connection. If somebody switches from Zimmer, they can use every single Zimmer component on the Paltop implant, which makes it, you know, you'd have to buy a whole new stock of parts just to change.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense for implant companies to stick with one of these main connections. You know, either use the Zimmer / BioHorizons connection, or use the Nobel Active connection, or use the Trilobes going away. But, you know, there's a handful of connections out there that are popular. You know, I think if you stick within those, you can switch over to these companies, give them a try, and there's not a lot lost. I mean, you can use the same surgical and restorative kits. You just need to try out the different implants and say, look, if this implant's got more aggressive threads, it costs half as much, and you can restore it with the lab that's selling it to you. I mean, there's a huge advantage in that.
After really getting involved myself and going to the factory, seeing how they're made, there's just no reason that doctors should be spending $450 for an implant now. I just don't see how you should have to do that. I don't agree with that. And I think that kind of business model is going to really get a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think the implant companies are headed for a big shakedown here soon. I know they already are.
I do too. I totally agree.
And it started when Implant Direct first launched, and then, you know, Danaher's trying to gobble them up and keep them under wraps. But, you know, since more and more GPs are getting in, and
exactly,
these implants that are out there that don't cost $400 are available and they work just as good, I think there's going to be pressure on them. And I do too. I think it's going to create, you know, some interesting times over the next 5 years. So I think these companies like Paltop are going to rise and really start taking over more on the scene. So I hope that's the case anyway. Yeah. So tell me about what people need to know about Paltop if they want to give them a try. I mean, what's the if it's fully compatible with the Zimmer kit or whatever, they can just use their kit, or if not, there's a full line of products for Paul Top, right? I mean, they have the full surgical kit, they have a fully guided kit, they have all the prosthetic solutions. You guys restore them at the lab. I mean, there's no reason they should be hesitant, right? I mean, tell me what makes Paul Top special?
Well, what makes it special to me is that I haven't seen an implant that is higher quality that costs that much. I mean, you're getting so much for your money. The surgical kit is super simple. It's not like you need a degree in engineering to figure it out, but everything is really high quality. All the drills are Comet drills. It's the best German-made drill you can get. And it just all makes sense. It's really well thought out. And what they did when they were developing the product, they basically traveled the world and talked to all the leading implant clinicians about what if they could make an implant from scratch that had everything they wanted, how would they make it? And what they've done is combine all the little design features of all the best implants and put it into one. Like I said, the doctors that try it love it, and it speaks for itself. I was just talking to one of our biggest clients this week. He was a big Zimmer guy. He always carried like 60 grand worth of Zimmer inventory in his office. And he recently switched.
Now that's only like 20 implants, isn't it?
60 grand. I don't know, but
that's only like 20 Zimmer implants.
I guess he ordered with us, he ordered about 35 or 40 of the Pal Tops. And he called me this week and he's like, man, I'm already out of them. I'm loving them. And we talked about some of the design features. This was just 2 days ago. I was talking to him. And if anybody would like to talk to some of the doctors that use them, I can supply their names. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to them. But he said that he and Dr. McComey too, say they noticed more initial stability with Pal Top than what they've used in the past. Pal Top has like a tapering thread that compresses the bone while it's going in. And they found that it just feels a lot more secure on initial placement. And then another thing that my buddy that called me this week likes about them, their healing abutment, the way that it's designed, it's like a concavity all the way around the healing abutment. And he said that he noticed a lot better soft tissue growth around the collar than what he'd used in the past. So I think little features like that, and then doctors that don't have years and years of implant experience that see the surgical kit, I think it's just makes them feel comfortable that they can figure it out. It's not something that's really complicated. But then they do have a fully guided kit as well, so they pretty much have it all. And when we make the guides, it just makes sense. So what we're doing right now, we can send some implants and a surgical kit out to anybody for free. They can just test it out and try it. And the deal we have right now, if they buy, I think it's 25 implants, we're giving them a free kit. And then we also have some free motor bundles too, where if they buy a certain number of implants, we're giving them a free implant motor and a free surgical kit. So we could get all the details on that offline, but
yeah, I can post some of that stuff. So there's actually a couple different, and not to confuse people, there's actually a couple different implants they make. The main one takes that Zimmer connection. There's another connection that they have that they offer a conical connection one now too. Is that one compatible with anything else, or is that its own deal?
No, it's a proprietary conical, and they have their advanced implant, which the advanced is Zimmer, advanced plus is Zimmer. The advanced plus, it has a little bit more aggressive thread on the initial third of the implant, more of a biting thread. And then they have a Zimmer internal connection, but it's more of an aggressive thread, like a Noble Active. So it's gonna really dig in and eat and bite when you're putting it in. And then they have the conical. And then they have this crazy implant called the Diva. It's not available in the U.S. yet, but it's got a hole on the initial third, and they're using it. It's actually been tested and proven in Europe, and you can use it for sinus lifts. And you inject the bone or whatever you guys use to do the lift with through the implant. You inject it through the implant, it goes into the sinus.
Yeah, I've seen the video on that. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's a wild idea.
It is. So I like the fact that it's out there. I don't know how I feel about it. So I'll let somebody else try it. But I'm glad to see they're innovating. Well, I mean, that's the important thing. So
if they get FDA approval on, I'll send you some for free.
There you go. I'll try them. I'll try anything once. Let's see what else we're gonna ask. So there's lots of products that they're making. There's lots of options they have. You guys are distributing. Are you the only U.S. distributor?
Right now we are. They have a warehouse in New York, and that's their headquarters for U.S., and then there's us. Okay,
great. Now, the Augma Bio bone material, how's that relationship with Ben? I know.
It's been unbelievable. We've got an Augma CE night in Atlanta coming up in 2 weeks. The CEO is a dentist. He's a surgeon, Dr. Amos. He's flying over from Israel, and we got another one in Alabama in August. But that's been a really cool product. I don't know if you've ever used the bone cement, but
I have. Yeah, I did an interview with him a little over a year or two ago, and then
I listened to it.
Yeah, I've met him in person, and then I've used it a handful of times. I've had some good experiences with it. Yeah, I don't use it exclusively by any means, but I've definitely had some good experiences with it. I just opened up a case today, actually, that I'd used 5 months ago, and I looked at it, and the bone was great. So
that's awesome.
It does what it says it does.
Yeah. The only thing that I would caution dentists on that is before they jump into it, we've got a training kit that's like it's a non-sterile training kit, not for patients, but just to get a handling on it, because it definitely handles different than particle bone. And also the dentists that switch over to a bone cement, they kind of have to change their way of thinking when working with a bone cement versus the particle bone, because it handles differently, and you're supposed to use it in a different way. And if you don't do your homework and watch the YouTube videos and understand how to use it, then it won't work right. But when you like you learned, when you do it right, it works really well. So, and I think you could say the same thing about impression material. You pull it out too early, you do it wrong. I mean, it's no different than that. So
yeah, I
think the doctors who study on it,
you need to actually read the instructions on this one and
exactly
give it a try. Play with it a little first, because it is different. It's its own beast, and it handles well. You need to know what you're handling.
Exactly. What I've found with Augma is that the less you mess with it, the better.
Yeah, just get it in there and push it and be done with it. Don't sit there and fiddle with it.
Yep, you fiddle with it and you mess it up.
Yeah, dentists like to fiddle with stuff, unfortunately, and I've learned with surgery, it's just get in and get out. You don't want to fiddle with crap during surgery. I mean, it's not like a crown prep. You can sit here and dink with it for an hour, but surgery, I mean, you get somebody open, get your stuff in there and get out. Nothing good's going to happen sticking around in there longer. So, right. Yeah, it's got a working time, and let the material do the magic. You don't need to try to overplay with it. What do you guys have on the horizon here, Matt? I know we've covered a lot of stuff here with the lab and the implants you guys offer and the bone material. What do you guys got coming up in the future? I know either implant specific or not. What's on the horizon? We're halfway through 2018 almost here. What's coming up the second half of the year? What's coming up the rest of the year? I know you guys might be putting some implant courses together. I know we talked about that 3 or 4 months ago. I'm not sure if that's happening yet or not. And what else is going on?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's not implant related, but it's definitely dentistry related. And that is, don't know if you've heard of Carbon 3D printer company, but next Tuesday we take delivery of our third carbon printer, and whereas the first two we just used to print our models every day from the scans, but this one we're actually going to be printing the dentures with. So for the past year or so, we've been printing a small number of dentures with a printer that was really slow, and we couldn't scale it up. And Carbon just got approval for a two-colored, multiple shaded teeth-colored print resins as well as the base resins. So what is really exciting for me about that, we can print like 6 arches in about 80 minutes. And so we're printing the base and printing the teeth, and people want to know how you lute them. When you print it, the print is not fully cured. So it's like 80% cured, and then we paint the base resin into the sockets that were printed into the base, and put the teeth print out in like a set of 4 or 6, and you put them all in the sockets at once with the resin, and then you final cure the whole thing. So since the base and the teeth weren't fully cured, you're basically curing it all together as one unit. So it's basically a monolithic denture at that point, and we're going to be selling those for like $199. The doctors can you just take a regular bite rim and a bite like we've always done, and we'll scan that, do the setup, and print it. And that is going to be, I think, a huge hit, because for a $199 denture, I don't see how you can beat it. And that's something that I'm super excited about. So we'll be launching that, I think, in August. We can be ready for it. We get the printer next Tuesday, but we're going to prove the concept and we're going to transition some economy dentures over to printed, start doing the workflow, and then really launch it. But that's exciting. I think that the whole removable business needs to be shaken up for sure by digital. And I watch, Nate Farley and Dr. Cooper on Instagram, and they're on top of their game with doing it and pushing the limits on what can be done. And it's at its infancy now, but I would say in 5 years from now, the whole landscape's going to look different. And it really needs to happen, because I don't know if you know this, but just training setup technicians and finding people that can set up teeth really well, it's an unbelievable problem in the industry, and we need help. We need a way out that we can service the need. I mean, the need is huge. You know how many edentulous people there are in the United States, and I mean, implants is awesome, and they all need implants, but they can't all afford them. So we're back to dentures at that point.
Yeah, there's a huge need for removable, and just like everything else, the technology is moving forward. We need to embrace that. How would you do like a wax try-in with that, or is that even done?
We would print it. It's crazy because it's so easy to print and design it. You can print the thing in 60 minutes, okay. Send it out for a try-in. Oh, if the occlusion's off, take a new bite. The midline's off, mark the midline, we print a new one.
Okay, so you're just going to use that as the try-in, and if it works, keep it, and if not, we'll adjust it.
Exactly. There's no need to do a try-in.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I'm liking this.
Yeah. So as far as the implant stuff, we don't really have anything new this year we're going to be doing with implants. We had a hands-on course down to Dominican with Paltop, and I think about 15 to 20 doctors came, and they all placed like 30 implants apiece. And we're going to do another one in Dominican. There's a clinic down there that we can use, and you know how there's these CEs, live CEs in other countries, but We are going to work on one that's more like Implant 101, a non-live, non-clinical one here soon. But yeah, main thing we're doing new is going to be the digital denture. So
now, when do you guys having your next Dominican hands-on training course? I get people asking me about hands-on training all the time.
I'll let you know. I know it's been planned. I just can't think of the date right now.
Is that kind of stuff on your website? Is that on the Oral Arts website?
The last one was, but the next one isn't up yet.
Okay.
But I'll get you the info.
Sure. How do you feel like those go? I mean, do people come away feeling good about those experiences?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's like a boot camp. You know, you better be ready to work.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to work when you're there.
When you get home, you're tired and then you're ready to hit the ground running because you've done them yourself. You haven't sat in a lecture room and done it on a sawdust mandible.
Absolutely. And they would be placing the paw top implants at that as well?
Yep. Paw top the whole time.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, it sounds like
it's like a week long.
Yeah, those are brutal, but that's the only way to get it. You have to immerse yourself in that thing. If you're going to get in, I mean, you don't want to just do the 101 course and work on a model a couple times and expect to have it mastered. You kind of really need to have that over the shoulder mentoring live experience, I think, to kind of get that experience. So that's good that you guys are at least providing that solution. And I'm sure as the need and demand will grow, you guys will continue to expand on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Well, anything else anybody needs to know? How obviously you guys have a website, or how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to try your lab? What's the best way for people to try your implants and all that?
I would say the website. Just email the info address on the website. I read those, and our Paltop rep, she gets them, and our customer service lead gets them. But I encourage people to follow us on Instagram. We're posting stuff all day, every day. It really gives people, I mean, it's basically like being in our lab, and we post the good, the bad, and the ugly as far as what's working, what's not working, and what we're doing new. That's super valuable, is watching our lab on Instagram.
Tell some old fart like me what Instagram is and what that's all about.
Wow. So, Instagram's pretty much like a picture book online. And so what we try and do on Instagram is, we post pictures of our prettiest cases, of course, but we're going through the lab and taking pictures of cases that everyday work that causes doctors frustrations that they can learn from. Like, okay, we're showing clearance issues, and we're having to call on these cases because the doctor's not giving us what we need, and trying to teach our audience like how to do better dentistry, really, and avoid the phone call from the lab that causes the patient to have to come back and start all over again. None of us want that, and we're raising awareness on those issues in a diplomatic way, of course. But if we see things in the lab that could help you, that save you 5 or 10 minutes a day, then that's a lot of money over the course of a year. And so that's what we're doing. Just pictures and little messages. And we have doctors from all over the world asking us questions like, what material should I use for that? Or, why was that impression not going to work for you? Or just doctors, people are afraid to ask questions, but if you can do it that way and it gets to the point and nobody's embarrassed. You're not sitting in a lecture room with 200 docs around you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole afraid to ask question things. I mean, I get that, but it's the only way you're going to learn. I mean, looking at stuff, and right. I mean, I learned so much from my lab techs and my implant reps and whatever, because they understand their side of it. I may understand my side of it, but it takes both sides coming together on this to get it right. Let's just drop the ego. We've got something to learn from everybody. Ask questions, show your mistakes. I mean, that's where the real learning happens.
I was I was listening to a dental podcast the other week, and I think it was Bolden and Spodak, and one of them was like, as a clinician, you might see 10 or 20 patients a day, but your lab techs, I mean, they're seeing hundreds of cases a day from clinicians all over the country, and seeing there's so much knowledge in the lab that we all need to tap into and share, that I think it would be really, and a lot of doctors do that, I mean, all the time, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to know, you got to have a good team, and it starts with, having a good lab, and, having a good implant company, and, having, good employees and all that. You got to have a good team, and everybody's got to do their part. So,
exactly.
I know you guys are doing things well there. Appreciate your time today. Appreciate the partnership we're setting up here with our dental implant practices platform. I know we're working out a deal for our partners program, our group purchasing organization. So we appreciate you working with that, and that's going to be launching live here any day now. So once that gets up and rolling, people can get a good deal on your implants and your lab side. So we're going to direct some people with that and get them going and help get the message out there for you.
Thank you. We welcome it.
So I will direct people to get a hold of you, get a hold of Paul Top, and see what we can shake up in the implant and digital denture world. So I'm glad you guys are leading the front, and really greatly appreciate your time today.
Thank you again. Thank you so much.